thank you in advance for your grace. And as we meet on this evening, give us strength and strategy to move this city forward and allow no weapon that is formed against it to prosper. We ask these few things in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Please rise for the pledge. Council, any motion on the work session minutes for the February the 2nd?
Move to adopt.
Have a motion to adopt. All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Need a motion on the regular council meeting minutes for the February 2nd?
Mr. President, move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Mr. Mayor, you're up.
Good evening. Hope everybody's having a great day and good start to the week. We're going to start and get right to it with just some updates regarding COVID-19 and just kind of give the community an update of where we are. Next slide, please. We're doing better. Overall, I know the numbers may not indicate that, but I tend to look at the overall big picture. Obviously, we're seeing the 7-day average of deaths come down, and we're seeing the test cases are going up. We had a marginal increase in new cases, but one of the things that you can take away is that positivity rate over there in that bottom right corner has come down. It's 12%, and as that continues to come down, we think that we're making some progress, and I want to be very conservative in that, where that number is concerned. And so we want to keep all those things in mind as we go and we discuss kind of the recap of the last week or so. And I want to thank all the council members, everybody in the community for lifting up the vaccine clinic. The vaccine clinic was very successful. The EMA Director, Christina Thornton, and Fire and Rescue, Chief Jordan, and Chief Finley and MPD deserve a lot of credit, along with our healthcare providers and what they were able to do, which was more than what was predicted. They started out thinking we may be able to do 1,000 a day. They ended up doing over about 1,500 a day. And so that is a big success in working with the State Department of Public Health, as well as working obviously with the federal government and Biden administration to get more vaccines to locations, to the states, and to locations and municipalities as well. And everyone was very, great team spirit, I thought, in the last week. And, we had a lot of volunteers as well. And so when we think about not only Baptist Health and the Department of Public Health, but also all those folks from street maintenance and many other people who helped set up the testing site, which allowed the efficiency to be much better than it was prior to. And it got to be so good that other entities have called, or other organizations have called our EMA to understand how we did it, what the teamwork was like, and how it was set up. And that really is a testament to the leadership and to everyone that was a part of that. And so, having said that, I'm going to ask you to play just a quick, brief video just to show you a little recap of everything.
Amen.
Did you feel that? That's right.
Amen. I believe.
Did you feel?
Amen. I believe.
Did you feel that? That's right. more signs of city-county partnerships. So let it not be said that we don't play the county commission videos over here at the city council. They got better production, I think, than Chief Jordan, and I didn't think anybody had better production than Fire and Rescue, but that was a nice little video. So we'll give them the credit for that and thank them for their partnership as well, and everybody who really came out for that. I'm talking through this mask for a reason, because also before we move on to our financial summary, we want to encourage everyone to continue wearing their masks, and new CDC guidelines have come out encouraging people to double mask when and where possible. And so to the degree that you can get a disposable medical mask along with a fabric mask, that is also something that we want to try to emphasize, and we want to try to continue to share. Even as we see some improvement, we know that we're still in the middle of this pandemic, and we want to continue doing that even as we talk about the vaccines and even as we encourage more and more people to be vaccinated. So to the degree that we can share that word again and continue to reinforce that, that would be beneficial to all of us. And my mask is also in honor of the founders there, my alma mater, Morehouse College, which was founded on February 14th, 1867. Don't hate on me, CC. So that's why I'm wearing this. So let's continue to get the message out to continue wearing our masks and practicing social distancing, and hopefully we can continue to see these numbers come down, even as we increase our vaccinations across not only the city and the county, but across this community. So with that said, we'll transition from the COVID recap and we'll get right into the numbers, and I will try to be brief and to the point where that's concerned. We see this, we're going to take a look at some overall growth in our primary revenue streams. As you can see on the screen, the sales and use tax had a negative growth rate relative to the previous year. That downward tick was primarily due to a slowdown in mail delivery. Big box business payments came in after December 31st. So consequently, those collections are posted in January because we use a modified accrual system for recording cash. And cash is posted when it's received. So due to late arrival of these funds for December, the funds for January reflected on the screen is somewhat skewed due to the posting of late payments. The growth rate for January is unusually high year over year at more than 17%, where the overall growth rate of sales and use tax revenue is slightly more than 7% positive compared to the previous year. All that said, we'll take these numbers over the negative numbers any day. Next slide, please. Not so much on this slide. Year over year, overall lodging taxes for January is still in the negative 36% range. The occupancy rates are basically unchanged for the local hotels. As many of you know, tourism, historical tourism and civil rights tourism drives a lot of these numbers, along with many of the sports tournaments that bring kids to many of our parks and Garrett Coliseum and Patterson Field and things along those lines. And we just don't have those trending positively yet. Unfortunately, we don't know when this will start to tick back up. I doubt that it will be in the first half of this year. Again, I think if we can continue doing our part to battle COVID-19, hopefully by summer there'll be some ease of people moving around a little bit more than what we have right now, which will mean that by the fall, we can start seeing some of those tournaments and some of those visitors start to come back. And that's what we're looking for. Next slide, please. Gas tax revenue had a positive growth rate in January, but the overall growth rate year over year is still reflecting more than negative 4% growth rate. And what we are seeing this decline is due to, again, travel, both in and out of the city, due to the pandemic, and others still have not changed their behavior where that's concerned. And that's understandable that people aren't moving around as much, and we certainly, again, want to see more of that happen, but we just don't have that just yet, and that's why we're seeing those numbers still kind of lag behind. Next slide, please. The alcoholic beverage tax revenue had a negative growth rate in January compared to the prior year. This revenue stream had a positive growth rate during the first quarter of the current fiscal year, but it declined nearly 7% from a positive growth rate in December to almost 2% in January. Overall, year over year, the alcoholic beverage tax revenue still has a positive growth rate of 5%. Revenue is coming in from ad valorem taxes and business licenses daily. Approximately 91% of budgeted ad valorem taxes have already been collected. Issuance of business licenses based on the number of licenses issued in fiscal year 2020 is about halfway complete. Once the majority of licenses have been issued, we'll have a better insight on how businesses fare financially during this pandemic. The purchase of a business license is based on gross receipts remitted by the business in the previous month. This is an early, last slide please, I'm sorry. If we're taking a look at, next slide. There we go. Sorry about these bad numbers. I mean small numbers, and some of them are bad, but sorry about the spreadsheet. We were trying to condense it down to show you what we could. But this is an early projection of where we think revenue and expenditures will likely be at the close of the fiscal year. This projection is subject to change depending on how seasonal revenue from various venues in the city come in. Hopefully our city and surrounding communities will be less restricted by COVID-19 now that we have vaccines being issued, but we know again that process is going to be slow. So as soon as tourists come back to the city and people start to move around with their families, we'll start to see these revenue streams improve. But again, it's really incumbent upon us to try to push what we can, that people practice social distancing, wash their hands, double mask to the degree that they can, and try to limit as much exposure as possible. We're not saying that this won't get better, it's just a matter of how long will it take to get better. And that's going to come back to a lot of our behavior. All right, I think that's going to do it for the financial update. I've got just a couple more items to cover, and then we will be on our way to the rest of the meeting. There's a resolution that we have regarding the My Brother's Keeper initiative. Again, yesterday we celebrated President's Day, which started in honor of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and other presidents. Well, I'm sorry, it was George Washington's birthday, not Abraham Lincoln. But we see there another president is continuing to do his work in his post-presidency, and that is that of the 44th President, Barack Obama. One of the things that we have sought out to do was to leverage the history of Montgomery and the great tradition that people feel about what took place here with national organizations. This is the latest national organization that is interested in partnering with the city of Montgomery by establishing an initiative that will help not only mentoring programs and after-school programs, but also education, workforce development, and financial literacy programs. And we hope to be able to bring all of these organizations together with a guidepost, with a benchmark of opportunities that we can utilize here in Montgomery. By partnering with them, we sign on that we want to be a city that works with this nationwide organization to not only improve this community, but to improve the lives of those who live here. And so in the coming weeks, we'll be sharing more information about how community members and stakeholders can be involved. However, tonight I'm asking you to support this resolution, expressing your support for the My Brother's Keeper Community Challenge. By doing so, we're committing to assisting in the development and success of our youth, a pledge and commitment made by more than 100 mayors, city council officials, county commission leaders, and tribal nations across this country. And we believe that this will have a tremendous benefit on what many of you do in your day-to-day activities as city councilmen, where you're trying to support community groups, you're trying to support neighborhood groups that are really by themselves trying to accomplish some of the same things that the My Brother's Keeper Alliance is doing collectively across the country. And we believe that with the talent we have here, we can pool some of that talent with national entities and organizations because of the history of Montgomery, because of the relevance of this city, then we can accelerate the progress of many of the things we want to do here in the community. So this is kind of the first step. We'll be talking more detail about that in the coming weeks. Now finally, probably the best part is recognizing our youth and recognizing those who participated in the Rosa Parks birthday card challenge. As part of our celebration and reimagining Black History Month amid the pandemic, we created the Rosa Parks birthday card challenge. We're looking at ways that the city can be involved and can help elevate Black History Month and all that it highlights and celebrates with our history. This challenge, as we called it, asked Montgomery students to create a birthday card for Mrs. Parks with the message they would share if she were alive today. The entries were excellent and showcased the talent and understanding of our Montgomery students, well beyond the bus boycott or well beyond just one act of defiance and civil disobedience. They understood a lot more than I think many of us thought about Mrs. Parks and her legacy. So therefore, it's my privilege to introduce you to our challenge winners. Each winner received a cash prize sponsored by Sam's Club and will be whisked off to a private tour of the Rosa Parks Museum right after a quick photo with you, our city council. The bus was the replica of the bus Mrs. Parks rode when she was arrested. Is right outside, and they're going to get an opportunity to go and visit the museum on the VIP tour. So with that, I want to bring up a couple. We don't have all three, but we want to bring up a couple of our winners to be recognized and also to be asked to take a picture with our city council because of their effort in this. And with this, I want to start with our winner of the grade K through 6 division, who is a student at Forest Avenue Magnet School, and that is Jihan Yang. Jihan, if you please come up. Now, the winner of our 7th through 12th grade division from Booker T. Washington Magnet High School is Cora Osborne. Cora, if you will please come up. And we have one winner who could not be present, who was the winner in our digital division, who's homeschooled, unfortunately could not make it, and that's Nehemiah Hussein, who's not able to be here. But we want to thank all of our winners for participating in this contest, and we will mail Nehemiah her gift as well. But thank you so much for participating in this challenge. Thank you so much for your dedication. And we're going to recognize
picture made. Congratulations. Yeah, so let's show that money off. Very good. Hold on. One more. Thank you, congratulations. Very good. Okay.
thing, Mr. President. One more, man. Oh, I'm sorry.
One more picture, one more picture. You get it? Okay, there you go. All right. Very good. Okay. Mayor, you had a resolution that you wanted us to pass tonight on the, My Brother's Keeper?
Yes, sir.
And, did you have a question about that?
I did. Mr. Mayor, I was wondering if we had, like, how would we roll it out? Do you have any kind of rollout on it? Because it's excellent. I'm excited about this resolution and bring it to Montgomery, and I just wanted to see where I can fit in and where I can fit my people in on this, because this is absolutely an excellent program.
Thank you. We're gonna ask for everyone to be a part of the rollout as we kind of finalize some of the details.
Okay.
But it'll be something we'll want all the council to be involved in and those who are open to do so.
Okay.
Very good. I need a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted.
Council, first thing I want to address now is our President Pro Tem's position is vacant. I'd like to have a nomination for that.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to nominate C.C. Calhoun as President Pro Tem.
Very good. Any other nominations? I declare the nominations to be closed. I need a motion to adopt that.
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Got you, CC.
Thank you, council.
All right, good deal. Very good. Proud of you. He deserves it. He deserves it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, first item on the agenda tonight, Madam Clerk.
Item 1, presentation of written report by Chris Conway regarding Rebuild, Alabama.
Mr. Conway.
Thank you. This has been on the agenda for about 2 years, right?
Yeah.
But I was given some instructions by some of my colleagues. They said be brilliant and be brief.
All right.
So I'm going to try to do both. So this is the presentation of the written report that was submitted at the first meeting in January. But this is the presentation of the Rebuild Alabama annual report for fiscal year 2020, which would have run from October to September. So just to kind of let you know some information, key dates required by the Act. August 31st, the City Council must approve the upcoming year's annual transportation plan. We've done that both times. By the deadline, October 1st, we provide a list of all contractors awarded projects to the legislature, and in our case, the only contractor we have is the Mid-South Paving, who does the annual bid for our asphalt materials. And then at the first council meeting in January, an annual written report is submitted to the council, which it was, but we weren't able to do this part of it. To recap, in that Rebuild Alabama plan, there were 120 street projects, 2 bridge projects, $6.4 million in the plan. That was the full cost of each of those projects in case there was a contractor and not done by our forces. We received about $808,000 actually from Rebuild Alabama Act. Those first disbursements did not come until January. We didn't really even start spending those till about March. We spent from that fund a total of $227,582, and all sources combined, we completed a total of 47 streets and 1 bridge project from the Rebuild Alabama plan in 2020. Including the Rebuild Alabama projects, we also completed another 28 road projects for a grand total of 75 street projects and 1 street project, 16.29 miles in fiscal 2020. And including the Rebuild Alabama funds and others, we spent just a shade under $2 million on road and bridge projects in Montgomery. Most of those remaining 2020 projects and some new streets were adopted by this body for the fiscal 2021 Rebuild Alabama Transportation Plan. That plan includes 121 street projects and 1 bridge project. We carried forward a balance of $580,789, and we expect around $1 million from this year's distribution with the additional 2 cents. Again, I'm going to try to be brief, but I do want to make sure everybody understands what the Rebuild Alabama program does for the city of Montgomery. in conjunction with other revenue sources. The Rebuild Alabama Act raised the 18-cent state gas tax 6 cents in 2020, 8 cents in 2021, and to 10 cents max beginning October 1st of this year. Montgomeryans already paid 18 cents in federal gas tax. Montgomeryans also pay a 7-cent local gas tax. So in Montgomery, we pay a total of 49 cents per gallon of fuel that we purchase. That'll be 51 cents. That's 51 cents now, and then it'll go up to 53 cents this October. So how do these numbers translate to revenue for us to use? Every cent generates about $1.5 million. And so we roughly generate $73.5 million just in the city corporate limits of Montgomery. But this is how it's broken down. $27 million of that goes straight to the feds, the old state gas tax. $27 million goes to the state. The Rebuild Alabama gas tax, that entire $9 million goes to the state. And then the city gas tax does come to our general fund. Of the $9 million that we raised, so if you were paying attention to the pie chart, we only got back a little over $800,000 of the $9 million that we raised with that new gas tax. So really bottom line is money that we actually receive from those gas taxes. Federal gas tax, we do not get any direct reimbursement into our budget. As we said, with the rebuild tax, we got about $800,000. With the old gas tax formula, we get about $3.4 million. And of course, with the city gas tax, we get 100% of that money. To tell you how that money kind of gets distributed around, we have 1,090 miles of streets, 12,000 street segments. We get $10.5 million from the local gas tax, $3.4 from the old state gas tax, $800,000 from Rebuild Alabama, which does have a very restricted use. And then there's $13.9 million total gas tax revenue in the city budget. And just to give you a reference of the combined budget of street maintenance and traffic engineering, the two chief places that take care of our streets, is $18 million. And so we're at a deficit of $4.1 million before we even begin buying asphalt. Some statistics, 147 miles of ALDOT maintained streets here. We contribute $36 million in direct state gas tax annually for ALDOT to use to maintain these routes. They get total discretion on how they spend that money or how they maintain those streets. We also send another $27 million to the federal government, and they distribute that back to ALDOT to use as well. And then, as I said, ALDOT determines how these funds are spent and how these roads are maintained. This is what that network looks like, principally the interstate routes, the bypass, 231, Taylor Road, those types of major routes that we have. 2016 to 2020, if you can read that bottom line number, about $46.5 million was spent on various routes. This is what it looks like on the map. These are the projects that it was spent on and the expenditures that they all covered to equal that $46.5 million. That averages out to about less than $10 million a year. So that's definitely not equaling what we're sending up. 89 miles of city maintained streets are what they call functionally classified, and they're eligible for federal funding with ALDOT oversight. And we compete for about $3 million in funding with Autauga and Elmore County and other locals around here. And all of these funds always require a 20% local cash match. And then of that 89 miles, we're pursuing 11 total ALDOT oversight projects that are in some stage of development. And part of those are part of our Poorly Rated Streets program. This is the listing of those projects. As you can see, that's about $29.5 million if all of those were to be let. Audrey, I got great news for you. February 26th, Hunter Loop Road, gonna be bid. So that's a great thing for us. But of that $29.5 million, obviously, it's gonna require about $6 million cash match from the city to construct these projects. This is what the ALDOT oversight projects look like for the period of 2016 to 2020. That's about $21.1 million that was spent. This is where they're located. This is the listing of those projects. Obviously, Court Street, the biggest one of those, and it is under construction, so that's why it's oranged out as it is. But again, about an average of $4.2 million a year. Then we have our streets that we maintain. Of the 1,000 miles, about 400 are in immediate need of paving. We have 121 streets in our paving program for this year. That leaves us, 280 streets citywide, and an estimated $10 million that we would need to complete that needs paving category. That's the end of it. I will point you to open data, to the Public Works icon, and then the paving locator, which we track all of this on. And you can tell what the status of any of those streets are that we do, and you can look at the history to see what we've done in the past. I'll also point you to mgmstreetstatus.com, where we're trying to make sure everyone kind of has an idea of the projects that are going on right now, the top 6 that are kind of in the hopper. So with that, I will conclude my Rebuild Alabama report. Seeing no
Thanks for the
questions,
information.
seeing no questions, I will
Second
declare it done.
questions.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Ms.
Very good.
Conway, Mr.
Yeah.
President, Ms. Conway, I'd just like to say, I started getting calls like 2 days ago. They saw some signs or something down there. I guess they had to put something up that they were getting ready to start working, and I started getting calls. All I could say was, Lord, I thank you, because it's not the calls that say, where are they? But it's the calls to say, I see them, they're here. So thank you so much. And
ma'am.
and Mr. Smith over there also too, because I know he kind of helped push that too some. So we appreciate what you do to make sure Honolulu Road got in that funding for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Next item?
Item 2, resolution appointing the election officials for the District 3 special election.
Need a motion to suspend the rules?
Move to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous?
Move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted. Item 3, resolution increasing municipal election officials' pay.
Need a motion?
President, move to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted. Item 4, resolution accepting the dedication of certain real property by Fairfield Company for use as a public park, Fairfield Park.
Need a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted. Item 5, resolution authorizing Mayor Reed to make application for an ADECA Recreational Trails Program grant.
Need a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted. Item 6, resolution authorizing Mayor Reed to make application to HUD amending fiscal year 2019 and fiscal year 2020 action plan by
Motion. Need a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Motion to adopt.
unanimous.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted. Item 7, application for an alternative transportation service doing business as KCAD's Transportation Service, 101 Hillside Drive, Troy.
Ms. Blackman, you here? Ms. Blackman, come forward, please. Your name for the record, please. Your name for the record.
Siobhan Blackman.
All right, Ms. Blackman. Anyone have any questions, of Ms. Blackman? Need a motion to suspend the rules.
Move to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted.
Good luck with your business, Ms. Blackman.
Thank you.
Item 8, application for a restaurant retail liquor license doing business as Aw Shucks at 4300 Wetumpka Highway.
Yeah, Mr. Ashcraft, come forward now. This is Mr. Ashcraft from All Shucks, and he's bought the business. And this is a public hearing. Anyone like to speak against this item, please come forward or call in on the phone. Hearing none, seeing none, declare the public hearing's been held. Proper for the council. Need a motion?
Motion to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous?
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is
Get out with your
adopted.
business, sir. Thank you.
Item 9, application for a lounge retail liquor Class 1 license, doing business as Rack 'em Up Billiards at 3036 Woodley Road.
Representative Rack 'em Up Billards here, please. Yes, sir, you're right there.
William Tucker.
Williams, okay. This is a public hearing. Anyone like to speak against this item, please come forward or call in on the phone. Seeing none, hearing none. Okay, the public hearing's been held. It's brought before the council. Mr. Mitchell,
Motion to suspend the rules.
all in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous?
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted.
Get out with your business, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 10, application for a special retail more than 30 days liquor license, doing business as the Tipping Point, 5015 Hampstead High Street.
All right, Mr. Pierce, come forward. Mr. Pierce with the tipping point. It's a public hearing. Anyone want to speak against this item, please come forward or call in. Hearing none, the public hearing's been held. It's brought before the council. Need a motion. All in
Wait,
favor,
I
raise-
have a question. Can I ask a question?
Yes, where?
What are you gonna be doing?
Excuse me?
What's going on? Can I ask, what are you having out there?
Can you buy?
It's
Go
an
ahead.
existing business. We'll
Oh,
continue
more-
as is.
you only gonna say, so why are you getting a license that say more than 30 days? What's the difference in this license, liquor license, and the maybe I just overlooked that, but I'm just trying to figure out why does it say that in here?
They didn't want to get a restaurant license. This allows them to have a full year of a liquor license, and then they don't have, it'll be a regular renewal every year as long as it stays the same owner.
just-
The difference in the
New owner.
price.
It was different from normal, so I want to know why.
You own it. That's it. Okay.
Oh,
All
no
right,
problem.
okay, the public hearing's been held. It's brought before the council. Need a motion.
Move to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous?
Move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Resolution appointing Sakia Evans to the Museum Board.
Motion to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous?
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted. Item 12, pursuant to Section 1153B1 Code of Alabama, authorization of demolition of unsafe structures at the listed location.
Need a motion to uphold.
Move to uphold.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Item 13, resolution designating nuisance abatement agents.
Need a motion to suspend the rules and rest of the agenda.
So,
All
So
in favor,
moved.
raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Need a motion on 13.
move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted. Item 14, resolution assessing the cost of abatement of unsafe structures on various lots.
Need a motion to
Move to uphold.
uphold. All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted.
15.
Item 15, resolution declaring, authorizing, and assessing cost of abatement of unsafe structures of public nuisances on various lots.
Need a motion
Move to adopt.
to adopt. All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Okay. Now we have two other things. Let's call them RLT transportation.
Resolution approving alternative transportation
Ms. Thomas, you
service,
here?
doing business as RLT Transportation.
Yeah, she's back there. Ms. Thomas, okay. Any, council, any questions, Ms. Thomas? None, okay.
Is this
Yeah.
going to be similar to what we just approved?
It's non-emergency transportation.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Need a motion to suspend the rules?
Move to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous?
Move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted.
Good luck with your business, ma'am. Thank you. Okay. One other item.
Mr. Calhoun has a resolution authorizing Mayor Reed to execute memorandum of understanding regarding purchase of Salvation Army property.
Need a motion to
Mr.
suspend the
President, move
rules?
to suspend the rules.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous?
Move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay,
Mr. President, I received one request for contingency funds just before I came into the meeting. It's for Councilor Mitchell in District 6, Divas and Gents, $250, and $500 to STEP. And Mayor, these are all, you're okay.
normal. Okay, anybody else?
I do. Let me, I need to pay for some work that we've had done through the Parks and Rec. So I just need to transfer some funds,
Out of contingency? Yes, ma'am.
2,200.
Is it just for anything they want?
An ice machine, we are trying to help some of our community centers out, getting the ice machine put in.
Okay. Okay.
Anybody else?
No, sir.
Okay, I need a motion to adopt those.
Move to approve.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous?
Very good.
Mr. President, before we move into Mr. Pruitt, I just want to thank the council and the city of Montgomery for your act of kindness over the last week with the passing of my father-in-law. My wife just sent me a text and asked that I really do that, and I really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Very good. Sorry to hear the passing. Okay, Mr. Pruitt, you got something to say?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I got a couple things. First, and I forgot to share this with you guys in work session. There is a individual here in town that has numerous properties that he has rental properties for. One of them was actually in Clay's district, and they dealt with this battle. They fought this battle for 6-8 months.
Yeah, 6 months.
Numerous shootings, drug deals, that sort of stuff.
93 911 calls in a year.
The same individual that rents that house also rents a house in a neighborhood that I'm having issues with. And don't want to say the neighborhood, but there's been numerous drive-bys at this house, and I would like for that individual to come down to the council and explain to us, why is it his his rental houses that we're always having the problems with? And I think
Okay.
it's pretty fair. The police department is involved in the one in Carriage Hills. They were involved in the one in Clay's. They've sent a letter to the individual. So there is an issue with what's going on with this gentleman and renting
What
some
would
of
be
these
our,
houses.
bring him in for,
I can say the name. I'm gonna have to,
shall cause
I'm
of
gonna
what,
send the
though?
letter, but it's
I mean,
Calix
you ain't got,
Vilma.
what do you do with it?
Calix Vilma.
What's your fine?
And I've got
What's your law?
certain,
There's a disruptive property ordinance.
Yeah.
Stacy,
Okay. All right.
can he bring him
I
in
think
for
it's
a
a good
show
idea.
cause hearing?
Bring him in.
5-star realty, but he
he's
does not.
Store
But
in the
do he
neighborhood.
have a business license to bring him in? Do he
He
has a
wouldn't have a
business?
business license to take away, so you gotta get him for something else.
Don't have a business license to take away.
Well, I looked and he did not, what we could find, did not have a business license, but he does have a license with the state of Alabama for real estate. He renewed it in 2020, and it's not up for renewal until 2022. But does not have a business license here in the city
Okay.
for 5-star realty.
I don't have a problem calling him in here, but I just trying to make sure we got something to do when we get him here.
You could bring him under 2 charges, disruptive ordinance and also
Disruption.
no city business license.
Yeah, but
that
just
right?
for disruptive,
So we did a disruptive property.
I think they have sent him a letter.
They did.
And it basically says there can't be any other issues for 30 days. So if there are no other issues, we really have no reason to bring him before the council on the disruptive property ordinance. I think you can bring him in under if he's got a real estate license and we think he's operating a business within the city, certainly we can bring him in under that.
well, you wanna see what he does in 30 days?
We can.
30 days probably, that gets him, he's on notice now.
Okay.
That's good.
Well, and y'all gonna see a video tonight, and I wanna go to my second thing, and I'll be very brief.
Let the clerk read straight. Y'all said.
I'm gonna wait, Ms. Brendan, and I'll bring it up 2 council meetings from now if we have not seen anything.
Okay,
on the
so
letter.
it's moot right
Yes,
now.
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, next item.
Mr. Mayor, there are 2 issues I think that we as a council and you, Mayor, need to look at, and we talked about a little bit in work session. Mike, can you pull up the first set of pictures? I know that, Mayor, the first issue I'm talking about is panhandling. And I know we've been down this road before, you know, with southern poverty and that sort of thing.
But Mayor, our city is becoming, in my opinion, a garbage dump where these people are hanging out, asking for money, and I'm talking about panhandlers. That's what I'm talking about, is panhandlers. Mike, can you flip to the OSET? You know, this is just the Eastern Bypass. And as I was sharing with Stacy and some others, and we all differ on opinions, you know, Mayor, we're not the only city, I don't think, in this country going through this type of stuff. And, you know, I don't know if it would be worth, well, I don't know. I think it would be worth having somebody look at trying to find some sort of remedy as far as not putting them in jail or something. We've been down that road. But this is something I don't think that we can turn a blind eye to anymore, because if you stop and truly think about it, Mayor, coming in from Auburn, every exit that we get off besides Union, because there's nothing there, we have panhandling. You go on around, we have panhandling. So, and everywhere that they are, and it's trash. And look, I don't want to make sure we understand this. I am not blaming sanitation at all, 0%. I'm blaming those people that are doing this and leaving this stuff there, and I think it's something that we need to address.
That's take right away too.
And I don't know how we need to do it, but I think it's something that we need
Chief,
to look at.
I saw one of the police officers out on Eastern Boulevard talking to one of these panhandlers the other day. Can you kind of address what happened there?
Good evening. Good evening. It's an issue. And so the officers, we have a mandate on both shifts, on both sides of the house, sector A and B. If we in those particular areas on those interstates, we will engage them and strongly encourage them to leave. We also have our peer support group, and they are our crisis intervention team that works with the homeless, and they, again, would strongly encourage them to leave. And so we would try to get them some help, some assistance on that. But once we have that conversation and we shoot them off just for a second, they will come back. But this is something that we do each and every day. And so we are familiar with some of those locations. Our CIT personnel are familiar with them as well. And again, they will come back. And so we don't have any enforcement power unless they are disrupting the flow of traffic, they put themselves in harm's way. That's when we can intervene.
Can we ticket them for trash, for littering?
From littering, we can do that. And so again,
I think that might be something that would be.
But we actually have to see the individual throw the trash.
Well, they're standing in the middle of it.
Right. So we can just kind of take another approach on it. And again,
let me jump in real quick.
Yeah, Mayor.
This is certainly something I hear about, get calls, texts like you all do. This issue, I think we have to keep in mind is, you know, we've got a lot of people who are struggling right now. We've got a lot of people who are struggling. People who have housing issues, people who don't have access to health care, mental health services, things along those lines. A lot of these people, you know, we're asked the police to police this. That's traffic. That's, you know, community and neighborhood patrol. That's something else they aren't doing. Not all these people, you know, live here. Some of them are transient. And quite frankly, under federal law, there's not much we can do. You know, we're trying to offer services. We're trying to offer alternatives to them. But, you know, you give somebody a ticket who doesn't have any money, I mean, you're wasting your time because they're not going to pay the ticket. They don't have the money to survive, or else they wouldn't be out here panhandling. So we've got to think of some different ways, and I don't know who, you can't subscribe that the person who's standing at a corner is the one who's dropping the trash. We talked about the whole not having the labor that used to be able to kind of pick up trash in the medians anymore. So there are a number of challenges here that, you know, we don't really have, you know, just a silver bullet solution for. I think to the degree what the police, what they do right now, in particular at Carmichael Road and Eastern Boulevard, and I've heard of some other intersections that we've driven by some of them as well, you know, it's probably as much as we can do, because once you start getting out of that lane of you know, arresting someone or you're intimidating someone because they're poor, because they don't have anywhere to go, you get into another, not just, legal space, you get into a moral space.
And listen, I want you to understand, I'm not talking about throwing these people in jail. That's not what I'm talking about. You've got a lot of smart people that work upstairs, Mayor. This is not a Montgomery issue.
Right.
This is a country issue is what I'm talking about. This is across the country. Yeah. So I'm not asking us to reinvent the wheel. I'm talking about let's go see if there's another solution that somebody else somewhere is looking at. Because if we don't, Mayor, and we can say what all we want to say, our city's becoming a dadgum a dump. And I mean, you can ride and look at it. Mayor, I had people from Oklahoma at East Chase, every which way you could turn into East Chase, walking through the cars asking for money for I forget what it was for, rape and drug addicts, but these people were from Oklahoma, and I'm like, come on, guys. But I think it's something that if we don't look at, we're gonna have a big problem. I mean, you see it, you ride up and down Carmichael, and I want to talk about that in a minute. But I mean, it's a mess, and it's not our sanitation's fault.
Oh, I agree.
By far, period. And we've got a bigger issue than that. And I think it's something that we need to address. And we just can't continue to look at take a blind eye to it.
I have a question. Chief, you mentioned that you have some resources where someone would come out from time to time when you have them. Tell me about that again.
Yes, so it's our crisis intervention mobile team. That's what they do. And so they are engaging with these folks every day. They work closely with the Homeless Coalition MOC, and they are the individuals that respond to people in crisis throughout the city, and we make them available. In addition to the mandate with the majors to make sure that we go by those locations and we just, we talk to these individuals. But again, we do not want to go down that little that hole and wind up suing because of their homeless. So we are very mindful of that, but we are engaging these homeless, these individuals as often as we can with the resources that we have.
Now, these MPD officers?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I know, and I know I'm kind of trying to tag team somebody, but I know Mr. Wilson, he kind of leaned down, he's working on, a place or a space so that we can put him in. I know the city of Montgomery is working on it, but he's heading that, and I'm not sure if there is some kind of way to, have a team from his area. I don't know if that's hiring a bigger team.
If you give me the number, we will contact him. We'd be
Desmond Wilson.
Yeah, I think we have contact with him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Listen, I don't have any idea if what you do could mesh together, but I'm just thinking when you're taking MPD officers off the street, when we have so many other issues going on, we do need another way to kind of deal with it.
So let me say that this is their assignment, right?
Okay.
And so besides the other beat officer, my CIT officer, this is their job. So we created that position for this to deal with that population. And so I'm quite sure that Officer Lucky and Harris have some communication with the other city entity to find a place for them. But a lot of those individuals don't want any help, right? They just want to be left alone. And so that's that communication that we got to constantly talk with them and provide them something that we can give them.
We are interested in cleaning up the city council, and I agree with you. I think it's just a fine line in terms of how we deal with this under the current laws after the lawsuit against the city that we're wrestling with. But I'm certainly open to ideas from anyone on the council, anyone in the public about best practices. I got an earful not too long ago from one of my parents about what happened to this Clean City Commission,
right?
And the city doesn't look as clean, to them. So I got that from a parent. So that they weren't talking to me like I was the mayor. I'll just say that. They were talking about why there's so much trash, and I had to explain to them what some of our challenges were, as well what we're trying to do. So we're all there, and we're trying to, come up with some solutions, and I'm open to it again from the city council as well as any member of that's a resident, any member that's here tonight.
And again, Mayor, somehow we got to figure something out. In just my opinion, if we continue to let it go 3, 4, 5 years from now, it's going to continue to only get worse.
It's trash, boys.
It's only going to get worse. And that sort of leads me into my second thing, Chief, and you can stay up there because it has to do with crime. And hey, can you play, Mike, that clip for me? I want to share a clip, and this is what I wanted to share with you guys. Listen to this. That's in a residential neighborhood and shooting. And that's what I wanted you to, and I want to first start off by saying I think MPD has done a wonderful job at this, but it goes to that house that I was talking about earlier. But it leads me to this, Chief, and here's what I wanted to ask is, because I know we put in some extra patrols over in the Carmichael, the hotels. And the question that I was having is, and I got to ask about it, is why are we paying on-duty police officers to sit in a hotel when we should make them pay off-duty? And why are we not treating them, Chief, just to be quite frankly, like a club? Because in my opinion, and I think some of the council members' opinions is, they're turning a blind eye to a lot of this stuff in those hotels.
So two front, I think it's a short-term solution. It's more to that on that hotel, the immediacy and the urgency that we had to take. And so again, for me, it was, we had to take action because I did not want to be up here if another shooting would have took place. And so my direction was, let's make that stuff happen like yesterday. Moving forward, if it's longer than 3 or 4 days, and we made our arrest and we identified the second shooter, and so this is a combination of a homicide that we had last Sunday night. We did make the arrest of the main shooter, but this is in reaction and retaliation to that first homicide. And these guys are some bad people. And so when they came back and they intimidated that clerk 2 days in a row, we got to take action. And because I didn't want a homicide and I didn't want to be up here for lack of concern. So we took it to the 10th degree. We made progress. That is a priority. We locked up one individual up, I think sometime today, and we are hot on that second individual. I'm not going to tell you how close.
No, I get it. I understand.
Right. And so again, if it's something long-term, I personally had a conversation with one of the managers, and I know my chief did, and so we will circle back around and to really put some more boundaries and some more enforcement. Yeah, enforcement. Not only on that particular hotel, and some other particular hotel. That's part of what we have to do now when we have those serious crimes that take place in the city, where folks come to pay money, and then they have to worry about being robbed, being killed in a hotel. Is
that Chief, Mayor, Stacy, is that something, that we can look at as a council at hotels? Because just quite frankly, Chief, I mean, I'm paying for off-duty in Carriage Hills, but yet you can't say anything, but they're inviting elements to particular parts of town on some of these hotels. Right. Is that something that we can look at for calls for service from the police department and look at their business license as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Chief, I'm sorry.
And so for Stacy, support me in my ruling, in our conversation, they are open. That particular one is open and willing to make that happen. And so we can make that happen. And again, if we can, and what we normally do is set the tone, and we will provide the calls for service just like we do the clubs and the major incidents that we have, and they are open for that temporary off-duty employment. So we can make that happen. It's just another conversation to have with them.
And Charlie, I know that's in your district, but I mean,
Oh, yeah.
with having to hire off-duty officers and then we're putting some over there, just makes me angry that some of those businesses, I feel, are taking advantage of, I don't know if you call it our kindness or whatever you want to call it, but, I'd like to see the numbers.
He's trying to solve the crime, that's another thing.
Right.
That's the bottom line. You can get them off the streets, you gotta get them off the streets.
And we're searching. We hunt.
You have, I mean, you've solved one crime in my neighborhood. You got him within 4 or 5 days, you got him. And you got him for several crimes here in town. Y'all got him. So you I have to commend you, Chief. You're solving a lot of crime.
Yes, sir.
Also, one other thing, Chief Finley, apartment complexes in my district are, just my biggest issue. I got with Amanda Miller on last Thursday, and we sent out an email for all the apartment complex managers to come on the line. Out of maybe 30, we only had 3 people. And the only thing we wanted to talk about, some of the security protocols. But Chief, they're not even willing to get on the phone. I think one of your officers was on the phone to tell us, how can we help? And so that's the biggest issue that I have with my apartment complexes, and also a couple gas stations in my districts that I know they're allowing individuals to sell drugs and do other things in the parking lot. And I just feel like we should bring them for a show cause. Make us understand, why are you allowing guys to back up in your parking lot, sit there for 2 or 3 hours? And if I know what you're doing, because they asking me, hey, you know what I'm saying, as I walk in and out. And I have brought it to the attention of that 2 gas stations, both of them the same name, Road Runners. And I just want to make sure that we are bringing them to the table like we do everybody else. And like I said, I'm willing to work with my apartment complexes, but they got to be willing to work with the city. And right now, they're not.
And I will tell you, in one of those, in your district, one of those parking lots and those convenience store gas stations, we was able to make a couple of arrests on some narcotics based on information from not necessarily the owners, but community, concerned community citizen gave us that information. We was able to get a good amount of drugs from a couple arrests that we made, a couple stops that we made in that area off of Virginia Loop in that particular community.
Okay, thank you.
It does. And just real quick, Chief, are we done over there at those hotels?
Or we what?
Are we done with the sitting or the surveillance or whatever? On duty police officer, are we done?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. You know, the initial was 3 days to get as much information as possible, and I think we probably did 4 days just to make sure. But yes, we are, and we will circle back around not only with that owner, but with the hotels, just bring them together and have a conversation on the hotels in general, especially with them, the hotels that they own, just to circle back around and have more communication with those business owners.
Would it be possible for us to see, Chief, the calls for service to those hotels?
Yeah, not
okay.
a problem.
Okay. Anybody else? Meeting adjourned.